Hello? Can you hear me now? Hopefully you can hear me now. Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Experts, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday. We all know that by now. Today we have some news to discuss, some good and some bad. So we need to be talking through that and seeing what's actually happening within the cryptocurrency space, because although the prices are pumping, we are seeing some negative news enter the markets here. So let's first of all take a look at the prices. So Bitcoin is up 0.4% in the last 24 hours to almost $72,000. Ethereum is down slightly to just above $4,000, but we're still above that $4,000 level. So we can't complain too much, can we? And also, Bitcoin is above $72,000. I hadn't refreshed my screen there. We can see that in the last week, Bitcoin and Ethereum have been pretty similar in their price action, up about 8.2, 8.3% within the last week. And if we scroll down the markets, we're seeing a real mixed bag here, with TON up almost 25%, Chainlink down 4%. Some altcoins are doing really well. XRP up 12%, and some are not so much, with Chainlink being in that list. So let's take a look at the biggest gainers and losers of the day. We've got Chain up almost 43%. In terms of biggest losers, we're looking at Binary X down almost 10%. We have a big story. We're going to skip through today's news for this story because I think this is really interesting here. We are seeing Hex drops 74% as Richard Hart bashes Ethereum. Now, I'm sure you all know who Richard Hart is. He is essentially this crypto... I believe he started as a KOL, a crypto influencer who made a cryptocurrency project, airdropped it to a load of Bitcoin wallets. He has been targeted with lots of hate in the cryptocurrency space, but he I don't want to say he asks for it, but he posts triggering things on purpose to get a reaction at times, I believe. Richard Hart is the guy who wears literally head to toe Louis Vuitton and lots of other designer brands, sits on top of his Lambo and takes a picture and posts it on Twitter, like with an absurd comment from time to time. But it works. It's marketing. It works. It gets clicks. It gets reactions. And he has created a cryptocurrency project called Hex. And after he shared his views regarding the Ethereum mainnet, we did see Hex plummet. I would say he's quite a controversial character. I don't have anything against him personally, but controversial is a term that's commonly used there. Richard Hart said Hex plummeting by stating that eHex was inferior to Hex on Pulse Chain. Hart posted on Twitter stating his strong views regarding the Ethereum mainnet and Hex. He said Hex is much better than eHex, which is the Hex on the Ethereum chain. Why? Gas fees, liquidity, slippage, common sense. Why would you pay $1,000 to end stake instead of pennies? Why would you want worse, I don't know if I can say that word, order execution, buying into a thinner order book with more slippage, getting less for your money, and the same applies if you sold. So he's been bashing Ethereum, and off the back of that, look at that price action there. It has dropped massively. eHex is down. So I believe eHex is like the Ethereum wrapped version of Hex. It's Hex on the Ethereum chain. eHex eventually bottomed out at 74% drop after Hart's X post a huge downside move. Of course, this is the Hex on Ethereum, the coin that Hart publicly bashed on Sunday. However, it was a different story for Hex on Pulse Chain. So Pulse Chain Hex rallied 56% after Hart's post. So it's not Ethereum wrapped, it's just the same tokens on two different blockchains with different prices. Holders getting behind his stance. So Hex on the Pulse Chain rallied 56%, whereas eHex, which is Hex on Ethereum, dropped 74%. So very differing reactions there. Obviously, he's talking about the Ethereum fees there. They have got stupidly high again within the last couple of weeks. We've seen that already. We've seen that be reported. It's not great to see. We saw this in the last cycle. We were really hoping that this would kind of calm down. A lot of people are saying, look, post-merge, you're not going to see those crazy prices for gas fees. I think it was pretty clear we were going to, and now they are back there. Let's see what's going on here. Good morning to everybody in the chat. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, Peter Dell says the crypto markets are like a Ferris wheel. They really are. Jason Smith says the Hex community are an interesting bunch. They love to see their stock go up and down very erratically. The proof is in the pudding. They are. The price of Pulse at Hex is always really, really volatile. The community is really, really strong. Richard Hart's under a lot of scrutiny at the moment, and I think there are some regulatory concerns here as well. But however, the hype is still there. The community is still there. It's interesting to see how this is all playing out. To have such a strong reaction to one person's tweet is petrifying, really. It's insane. Obviously, this is a token that's been around for a long time. Let's take a look at Hex on the Crypto Saving Expert website. If you want to take a look at any cryptocurrencies, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com and type in the coin you want to search, and you'll be able to see the latest price action. So you can see that drop on this chart here. You can see technical analysis, buy and sell signals for different time frames. And you've got a description of Hex at the bottom there as well. So we can see that this is ranked what ranking do we have here? Number 201 in terms of market cap. So that's pretty high. It's got a market cap of over $743 million, which is absolutely insane for a token like this to have come from a creator like this, I believe. And it's just interesting to see this price action and see that a coin with a market cap of that size is still so heavily impacted by Kevin Hart's opinions. However, saying that, I mean, if Vitalik Buterin started tweeting something like this, maybe we would see some similar reactions for Ethereum. But I still don't believe it wouldn't be that high, because obviously Ethereum's a high market cap. But insane volatility there, nevertheless. That is just what I wanted to discuss quickly there this morning. Let's move on to the prices, though. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Let's take a look at the charts and see what is going on there. Before we do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We've got 9 likes on today's stream. Let's try and get that up to 50. What we are seeing right now on the Ethereum Bitcoin chart is Bitcoin is outperforming Ethereum. I still do believe we are inside this ascending triangle, where we are seeing the potential for Ethereum to start rapidly outperforming Bitcoin. But I do think this massively depends on the Ethereum ETFs, which we are going to be talking about later in today's stream. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Let's take a look at Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin's on that upwards movement. We are just seeing pump after pump after pump. It's been absolutely insane. I think on the hourly chart, we are creating some sort of support here that is currently at around $71,670. It's insane to be able to say we have support now above $70,000, but it seems to be the case there. If we go into the half-hour chart, we can see that we are creating some sort of support here, and we have some sort of resistance that's traveling down here right now. I wouldn't say this is super strong, but I would say it's relevant. Let's see what's going on here. So we are having what could be a level of resistance at $72,060. Did I just say Kevin Hart? I meant Richard Hart. Rob's just put in the chat, I didn't think Kevin Hart tweeted about Hex. I meant Richard Hart. That's such a silly mistake. Let's see what's going on here. So on the half-hour chart, I would say there's some level of resistance here, but I wouldn't say it was super strong. I would say that it's worth considering, but nothing that we couldn't break through. And if we take a look at the Ethereum chart on the half-an-hour chart, you can see we've had a slight pullback. We are gaining those higher price points once again though. So seeing a little bit of volatility there, but it's all looking pretty good. The chart that I think is very interesting is this liquidation heat map for Bitcoin. So let's pull that up. But first of all, let's check what's going on in the chat. Peter Dell says, question, Jess, say I have 20 coins in my portfolio. Should I wait until most take off, then sell, or sell individually, or just keep swapping coins to, say, Ethereum and Solana? Well, I can't give you personal financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. It depends on the size of your portfolio as well, on how you should action this. And it depends on the tokens as well, on how you should action this. I personally am not very diversified. I keep coming on these streams and saying, I'm going to diversify, and then I just don't diversify. So when it comes to diversifying, I like to move into altcoins, and then when my altcoins pump and I see some nice profits, I like to take profits into Bitcoin, into Ethereum, and I'm going to continue to do that for the next 12 months or so. but it depends on the potential of the particular altcoin. If you're looking at an altcoin and seeing a huge amount of potential, you may want to hold on to it for a little bit longer, or you could be looking at the altcoin going, you know what, it's had a nice pump here, I think I'm going to take some profits and maybe buy the dip if we do see a move to the downside. Let's see what's going on here in the chat. What we have here is the liquidation heat map, and this is the map that I was just discussing, saying it's going to be an interesting 24 hours as a result of this. We've seen over and over again, every time this chart has some yellow lines, Bitcoin takes the path of most pain and liquidates all of those traders. So we have a magnet down at $71,000, and we have one as high as $73,500. Every single time we've seen this in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a Bitcoin wick both levels. So I would not be surprised here if we see Bitcoin go down to $71,000 and go up to $73,500 within the rest of this week. I think that's a highly probable scenario. We've seen it over and over again. Which one comes first is really the question here. But both of those are acting like magnets because Bitcoin likes to take the path of most pain, and if Bitcoin touches these points, lots of traders get liquidated. So definitely a chart to be keeping an eye on and to be looking at. Let's see what's going on in the next piece of information here. We've got the Fear and Greed Index. So the Fear and Greed Index is at 81. It's come down nicely here. We were as high as 90 back on the 5th of March. So we've come down around 9 in the last week, which is brilliant to see. Even though we are seeing these higher prices, we are seeing this come down slightly, and that's really positive because when the markets are in extreme greed, I like to be feeling fearful, but I can't feel fearful in these markets right now because it's looking so good. Let's take a look at what else is going on in the news. Peter Dell says, sorry to ask, do blue chip crypto have dividends or will have them in the future, as I'm used to dividends from shares? Jonathan said, did you buy Landwolf? No, I didn't, and I'm kicking myself over it. I really, really am. Peter Dell says, can you get dividends? No, so essentially the way that you can earn periodically off investing in cryptocurrencies is through staking. So for example, Ethereum, you can stake your Ethereum and earn interest on your Ethereum because by staking you are contributing to the network essentially. So you can stake as a validator, or you can contribute your tokens to a staker that will do all the work for you. There are some risks involved with staking, so you need to look at the pros and cons, but there is the opportunity there to earn interest on your tokens and periodically make some additional gains within your cryptocurrency. But let's take a look at what else is going on in the cryptocurrency news. This is an article from yesterday. What we want to be seeing here is 35 days away from the Bitcoin halving, where the inflation rate for Bitcoin is going to be cut in half. Instead of making around 900 Bitcoin per day, we will be making around 450 Bitcoin per day. Now, to put that into perspective, Bitcoin ETF issuers have been buying up around 11,000 Bitcoin per day. So it's going to be 20x the amount that's added into circulation. And all of this information together, if it continues at this rate, could mean that we are going to see a huge supply crunch for Bitcoin. Let's see what's going on here. Rob says, looking at Grayscale's Bitcoin holdings, they have sold 33% of their holdings down to 390k of Bitcoin at around 130k a month. About 3 months left of selling pressure, fighting against the inflows of ETH. I think with the Grayscale Bitcoin ETF, obviously they can't continue selling forever. They're having these outflows as it was expected, but we can't continue to see that forever. So it will come to an end and we will see some more positive effects there. But let's continue on and see what's going on in the news. This next article we did discuss in yesterday's stream, but I want to highlight it again because I think this is one of the most important news stories we have seen in a very long time. Bitcoin has become bigger than gold in terms of market cap, and Bitcoin climbs above silver to become the 8th most valuable asset. More money is now invested into Bitcoin, than into silver. That is absolutely insane. That would have been a much more promising statement had I said it right the first time. Let's try that again. Bitcoin has become bigger than silver in terms of market cap, so more money is invested into Bitcoin than silver. That's an insane statistic to share with our friends, to make them realize that Bitcoin's here to stay. It's a legitimate asset. Absolutely insane to see these articles yesterday morning. And we also saw MicroStrategy bought even more Bitcoin, continuing on their mission of dollar cost averaging and continuing on their mission to continue buying the top, as Michael Saylor famously said. Let's continue on though to today's news and see what else is going on here. Bitcoin could achieve 30 to 40% of gold's market cap this cycle, according to Eric Wall. So Bitcoin currently obtains 13% of gold's market cap, and analysts are saying, look, this could get much higher. So the co-founder of Taproot Wizards and longtime Bitcoin holder Eric Wall has provided his insights on what Bitcoin could achieve in this cycle. So obviously he's been invested in Bitcoin for a long time. We have seen that his predictions have been somewhat accurate in the past. In May 2020, he predicted that Bitcoin will reach $56,000. Bitcoin went to hit $64,000. So last time I did this, it actually worked pretty well, said Wall. He's now saying kind of feels like Bitcoin could become worth 30 to 40% of gold this cycle. At 30% of gold's market cap, Bitcoin would be priced at $173,000. And at 40%, it would be worth $230,000. So Bitcoin hitting above $230,000 would place it in the rainbow chart. Is this a bubble zone? Question mark. But overall, this is the strategy he used last time. He was successful with that, so he's using that strategy again. Now, I would love to see Bitcoin at $230,000. It would be insane to see such a gain after watching it down at $16,000. And I do think this is possible in this cycle. It's not certain, but I think it is possible. And that analyst has been right historically, so hopefully he is right again. Hopefully he's conservative here. Hopefully this is a bearish prediction. Hopefully we shoot right up past that. I want to see $1 million Bitcoin, as Cathie Wood said in yesterday's news. Let's see what else is going on here. Actually, let's go over that quickly. So yesterday we did hear news that Cathie Wood, the CEO of ARK Invest, is predicting that Bitcoin could hit, well, originally she predicted that Bitcoin could hit $1 million by 2030. And now she's saying, actually, that was conservative. If we take a look at what's happening with the Bitcoin ETFs now, we could go even higher than that. So she is super bullish on what's happening here with Bitcoin and saying $1 million Bitcoin by 2030 is conservative and we should reach that price much sooner, which is absolutely insane. Rob says the fact we're still climbing with the amount of selling from Grayscale. When that stops, we will rocket to moon. I mean, if we look at the supply and demand, we're seeing the amount of inflows from ETFs stay consistent. In fact, we're seeing new all-time highs happening every single week. And when we see those outflows from Grayscale's ETF drop, and when we see the Bitcoin halving mean that only 450 Bitcoin are added into circulation every day, we are lining up perfectly for a supply shock. We really, really are. I mean, we can't complain about what's happening right now. Let's see what else is going on in the news here. So Vitalik Buterin outlines plan in the event of quantum computing emergency. So this is a pretty interesting article, actually, and I want to sit back and go through this. So strap yourselves in. It might be a long explanation here. But essentially, when it comes to cryptocurrency, we are trusting, how a blockchain works is it relies on algorithms that can only be calculated in one way. So you can go from A to B, but you can't go from B to A. Now, when it comes to quantum computers, there is the concern because quantum computers are able to calculate in reverse from B to A. Now, our normal computers can't do that, but quantum computers can. So with that, we all know how public and private keys work. Your public key is your wallet address that you send to other people to receive funds, and your private key is what you keep for yourself, and this is what you use to sign transactions and send money across the blockchain. You should not share your private key with anybody, but essentially to calculate we can find the exact explanation in here. Essentially, you can go from private key to public key. You can do a calculation to get from your private key to your public key, but you can't do a calculation to get from your public key to your private key. And that means that you can share your public key with everyone and no one's going to find out what your private key is. But with quantum computers, you could. So that's the issue there. We don't want people to be able to calculate our private key and then make transactions out of our wallets. So how do we solve this? Well, Vitalik Buterin has come up with a solution, and he has said, look, if quantum computers are accessed by the wrong kind of people first, we need to come up with a solution. In quantum computers, the elliptic curve manipulations become invertible. This means you can go from B to A with that calculation, and this becomes an issue when users have made a transaction with an address. The signature reveals the public key, allowing quantum computers to obtain the private key, putting user funds at risk. So this is the solution that he's created to solve this problem. So Vitalik outlined the action plan if this type of attack were to occur, and noted 4 key aspects. Revert all blocks after the first block where it's clear that large-scale theft is happening. Traditional EOA-based transactions are disabled. A new transaction type is added to allow transactions from smart contract wallets if this is not already available. A new transaction type is added by which you can provide a stock proof which proves knowledge of a private pre-image X, a hash function, and it goes into a lot of detail there. I don't want to bore you with all this too much, but there's a solution here coming into play. And there has been a huge question over the cryptocurrency space when it comes to quantum computers, and the solution there for when these computers develop further, and this is a concern. It still is a concern, but to see plans being put in place to develop past that hurdle is very, very important. So positive to see. If you are more technically minded, then I will drop the link to this in today's live chat, and you can take a look at that article on cryptosavingexpert.com. But let's continue on to the next article here. So Kathy Woods, who I just said has predicted $1 million Bitcoin by 2030, is the CEO of ARK Invest, and ARK Invest has not shied away from taking profits this year, continuously taking profits from their coin investment every single time that the stock pumps. They've been doing incredibly well with this investment, buying and selling, trading very nicely. Coin is the ticker for Coinbase, the centralized exchange's public stock, and ARK Invest have divulged its largest single sale of coin stock since mid-February as the stock powers to its yearly high. So coin is pumping and ARK are taking profits once again. We've seen this over and over again within the last 12 months. They are not shy of taking profits and realizing some gains there, and I think it's important to see. It's great to see these kind of things. Let's continue on with what's going on here. So London Stock Exchange to accept Bitcoin and Ethereum ETNs in Q2, so exchange traded notes will launch after Q2, in Q2, so really great to see here. It noted that the exact launch date of the ETNs will be made public in the future. So these are a form of exchange traded products and are used to track assets that issued ETPs cannot and are a debt security. So they will be used to track the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum. ETNs promise to give the same return as an index and can hold collateral. However, this is not always the case. So they are complex investments, but ETNs versus ETFs. So ETNs have lower tracking errors than ETFs. Tracking errors in ETFs arise from the price moving faster than the product can track it. So essentially, London Stock Exchange is going to accept Bitcoin and Ethereum ETNs in Q4, and we're seeing this all around the world. We are seeing ETFs and ETNs being allowed in different exchanges all around the world. We are currently seeing conversations about Hong Kong launching an Ethereum ETF before we see the ETFs products launch in the US. So let's take a look at these articles and take a deep dive on what's happening with the Ethereum ETFs today, because we've got some interesting news here. We've got 20 likes on today's stream though, so please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's see what's going on here. Peter Dell says, just wondering, as I am confused, is it better to say buy 10 crypto and put 500 in each, or is it better to have $1,000 and only 5 to say make bigger profits? I can't give you financial advice. I don't know what cryptocurrency tokens you are investing into, and I think that's very important to determine. I would say don't over diversify because it's harder to manage your portfolio, but also don't under diversify because you'll miss out on some gains. It depends what you're investing into. I personally make a mix. If I'm looking at tokens for the long term, I'm more willing to put more money into them. But if I'm looking at a short-term pump and trying to take advantage of some hype in the markets, I'm going to put less in because I'm not as confident in my trade. So it really depends on what you're investing into. It depends on your own financial situation. I can't give you advice on that. But just be super careful with anything you invest in. Always do your due diligence, see what's going on buy red, sell green. That's the story at the end of the day. It's very, yeah, that's all I can say really. Just do your own due diligence, be careful. It depends on the tokens. Monkey Nuts says spread your risk. I think, yeah, more darts you throw at the board, more chance to hit the bullseye, says Monkey Nuts. True in a sense. It really depends on your own investment strategy as well. If you take a look at that Martini guy, you will see that he invests in so many altcoins. He invests in like thousands and thousands of altcoins, and only a couple of them need to do well for him to be in a significant profit. Whereas I take a really different approach. I don't diversify that much, and I like to invest in things that I believe in for the long term. And just don't diversify as much. So it just depends on your own preference, how you like to invest, and your own portfolio. Let's take a look at what's going on here in the news though, because I'd like to take a look at the Ethereum ETFs. So Hong Kong begins intensive discussion to launch spot Ethereum ETFs ahead of the US. We are seeing anticipation for an Ethereum ETF to launch in May, on the 23rd to be exact. Waiting to see what the SEC has to say about them, see if they will launch these products or not. But Hong Kong are trying to get in first, trying to lead in spot Ethereum ETFs. We've all seen how successful the Bitcoin ETFs have been, so they want to be ahead of the US when it comes to Ethereum ETFs, and I can't complain. And this is positive, this is really positive, but there is one news story here that's making me feel really negative this morning, and maybe it's the reason I don't have such a big smile on my face today, and this is that the analysts have lowered their odds of an Ethereum ETF approval. We are seeing 35% likelihood of an Ethereum ETF going live on May 23rd. So the SEC, the regulators in the US, have a deadline of the 23rd of May, and they need to decide whether Ethereum ETFs can launch into the markets. Now, we've already seen them accept Bitcoin ETFs, and we saw how that worked. There was a lot of activity going on between the ETF issuers, between Grayscale and Coinbase, BlackRock, Fidelity, VanEck, all trying to get the Bitcoin ETFs over the line. But that's something we've not seen here with these Ethereum ETFs. We've seen minimal activity, and that's made these analysts be a little bit cautious of whether these Ethereum ETFs are actually going to launch. So we're seeing the likelihood of these ETFs launching in May dropping to around 35% from 50%. There are some analysts that are still being positive on this and cautiously hopeful. But for the majority here, the likelihood of this is starting to go down, unfortunately. Bloomberg analyst, the crypto marketing firm GSR, has maintained a more hopeful stance, initially estimating a 70% chance of approval. However, the firm recently admitted that this optimism might soon wane if there's no visible progress in the next month. So we're waiting to see what happens for the rest of this month. If we start to see the activity pick up a little bit, then maybe we can feel a little bit more positive, but we're not seeing or hearing anything, which is making analysts be a little less optimistic here. And this is really unfortunate. There's still time, but this is really unfortunate to see this lack of activity right now. Peter Dell says, Rob, yes, I agree. The ones that have not pumped yet, I have a stupid strategy. I always buy crypto with low max supply and low market cap. Maybe that is the wrong way. Jonathan says, Wolf went from 0.48 to 0.68 on the back of their Twitter space with Jordan TMZ. I diversify into 5 coins as it's easy to monitor. Jonathan says, but it's Ethereum, which is icky. Monkey Nuts. I know, it's expensive as well. You need to consider that as well. To make transactions on the Ethereum blockchain right now is expensive. It's less expensive on the weekends, typically, but it's still quite expensive. Peter Dell, lots of advice being given in the chat. I like this. I hope you are all members of CSE Plus and are in the CSE Plus Discord, because you can fire away your questions in there. There's lots of experienced traders in there as well, so we all have nice discussions in the Discord and talk about what's going on. And me, along with the rest of the Crypto Saving Expert team, are always on hand to answer some questions in there as well. So make sure to join the CSE Discord. It's a lot of fun. Let's take a look at what else is going on here, though. There's one last story. Sorry, that is the last story when it comes to the Ethereum ETFs. Very disappointed to see that move to the downside, but I do still have my fingers crossed. I think an Ethereum ETF is really important to see at this point in the markets. Analysts are still saying we'll probably see one this year, but I don't want to see it later in the year. I want to see it now, and that is the problem here. Let's see what else is going on in the news here. So Coinbase challenges the SEC in court over arbitrary and capricious rulemaking rejection. So Coinbase legal chief said the SEC's regulation by enforcement approach to the crypto industry harms American consumers. I completely agree with this. The SEC have not made clear guidelines when it comes to the cryptocurrency space, and they have basically been firing out lawsuits about within the last 2 years, and I do believe this is regulation by enforcement rather than just providing clear guidelines. This has been a massive problem for the SEC. They have lost a couple of lawsuits within this time as well, and the Coinbase are now standing up against them and saying this isn't right, this isn't how you should regulate an industry. So Coinbase has strongly criticized the SEC for rejecting its rulemaking petition, labeling the decision arbitrary and capricious. The crypto exchange lodged its critique on March the 11th, petition filed before the US Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. If Coinbase's move is successful, the SEC would be compelled to establish clear rules demonstrating its authority over digital assets and offer compliance guidelines for the emerging industry. This is definitely something we need in this market and something the SEC has continuously refused to provide for the space. And it does not make sense. If you were on the channel about 6 months ago watching these live streams, you would have heard me rant about this every single day. Cryptocurrency is not clearly regulated in the UK. To determine whether an asset is a security or not, we use the Howey test that was created in 1946. To use that test on digital assets does not make sense, and there is not a clear understanding over whether these assets are securities or not by using this test, and therefore it becomes a little bit subjective. And how can you have guidelines that are subjective? How can you create lawsuits and punish people when your guidelines are subjective? We cannot continue on like this, and Coinbase have been making huge steps forward for the cryptocurrency space, having these petitions and really pushing for clear rules when it comes to cryptocurrencies and digital assets, but we do still have a long way to go because the SEC are not backing down here. It says here, Coinbase asserted that the SEC's denial represents both an abuse of discretion and a violation of the Administrative Procedures Act. It also contended that the regulator failed to provide substantive reasons for dismissing the concerns outlined in the petition. Coinbase's legal chief has said, if you go back and read the SEC's perfunctory denial, you'll be hard-pressed to find an actual reasons for its inaction. This is despite the dozens of legitimate concerns we raised in our petition, including questioning the SEC's authority over the digital asset space. So we're saying, look, the SEC do need to make some changes. We already know that. I've complained about this a lot on the channel. So we don't need to go too much more into detail about that. I hope Coinbase continue to push against the SEC and we do see a positive response. But it's hard to see when we've been fighting for this for so long. Let's see what's going on here. Rob says, I'm bullish on DOT as it has 2 big airdrops coming up just for holding coins on wallets. Plus it's lags behind a bit. Hype will build over next month or so. Interested if you have any DOT, Jess. I am trying to diversify into DOT as we speak. If you take a look at the DOT BTC chart here, you can see this has been bashed by Bitcoin over the last 2 years. It's been performing very poorly against Bitcoin. This is the type of chart I like to see, because I was just buying Bitcoin in the bear market. I wasn't being diversified. I was just buying Bitcoin. So I want to be looking at altcoins versus Bitcoin, and when I see a chart like this, it makes me feel like it's a good time to buy, and that's what I like. And I think DOT has a huge potential here. We've seen some massive upgrades, we've seen some huge changes, and we are seeing the potential of some airdrops coming as well by holding tokens on a Polkadot wallet, not in a centralized exchange. So feeling very excited about Polkadot and what's to come, because it was one of my favorite tokens in the previous cycle. I think one of the issues with it was that there was the barrier to entry for developers to make new projects on the blockchain, but there's been some big changes recently, and I like to see changes with these big projects. I don't want them to just sit and die off slowly. I want them to be making changes and be trying to continue to build the community. Let's see what else is going on in the cryptocurrency news here. Biden's 2025 budget targets crypto tax loopholes and expands digital asset oversight. And we are seeing Trump say he has no intention of stopping people from using Bitcoin. So there's the opposing views there. We have Michael Saylor says Bitcoin will eat gold in the coming months. Saylor said Bitcoin is far superior when compared to other conventional assets, including gold, real estate, and equities. He said Bitcoin is competing with gold. It's going to eat it. He said if you could teleport gold from New York to Tokyo in a few minutes, people would like it. And this is what Bitcoin is. If you want to buy a house on Saturday in Africa, if you want to buy a car on Sunday morning, Bitcoin is the way to do it. So there is the ETF battle right now with the Ethereum ETFs, but so far Michael Saylor is super bullish on Bitcoin and continuing to express those opinions, and I like that. I really do like that. It's very nice to have somebody so confident in the space, pushing the space forward, such a big figure as well. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Peter Dell says, at least people are talking about good coins and not rubbish like Pepe. I thought you invested in in the altcoin sector in the end, Peter Dell. How did it go? I've not seen the prices of... Let's take a look at some of the markets here. If we take a look at SHIB, it's down slightly down. So it did get as high as not 4559. We are looking like it is down around 25% from there. If we take a look at the daily chart, there's been some volatility there. Has the meme coin phase started to slow down a little bit? If we take a look at Doge, you can see that this is having a slight pullback as well. We did get as high as 20 cents. We're looking at 16 cents. So down maybe around 15% there. Jonathan says, I want your financial advice, Jess. We can't give financial advice here on the channel. I am not a financial advisor. Let's see what's going on here. Monkey Nut says meme coins will do well because new people will buy them. Last bull run, I didn't buy them because they're useless, but I'm buying them this time so I don't miss out. Yeah, and I think it's really hard to find the middle ground between investing in tokens because of there's a middle ground between staying away from an asset sector because you don't believe in the sector and just investing in anything there's hype in. And it's really hard to find a happy medium because I've said, no, I'm not investing in NFTs. No, I'm not investing in meme coins just because I don't see why they should pump, but I know they will pump, so I do want to get exposure and take advantage of them. So it's hard to find that middle ground. I believe, obviously, with these kinds of things, you should use a small percentage of your portfolio. Don't go all in on a random meme coin. But people have done it before and made money, but I just wouldn't recommend it myself. Rob says she can't give financial advice, but she did say she was investing herself, which is bullish. It is bullish. I am bullish. Let's see what's going on in the charts here, and then we will close off today's stream. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's take a look through some altcoins here. Let's take a look at Polkadot versus USDT. We've looked against Bitcoin there. It's pumping very nicely here. Bitcoin has just been outperforming it. And I am cautious to diversify too much because I am really, really bullish on Bitcoin here, and Bitcoin has been outperforming a lot of tokens in the market in terms of high cap coins. Let's take a look at Solana and see how that's performing here. Pretty same, seeing some nice price action here. We are heading to what used to be a level of resistance here, so maybe we could see a nice bounce here, but I'm not too confident in that level of resistance. If we take a look at Solana Bitcoin, we can see this is being outperformed by Bitcoin right now. On the daily chart, it has been outperformed by Bitcoin since mid-December. Do you know what? Looking at these charts just gives me a sigh of relief because I've seen all of these altcoins pump and pump and pump, and I get so much FOMO because I'm not diversified enough. I'm invested in Bitcoin, and then I look at these charts and look at the actual altcoin versus Bitcoin, and I realize that it's not all that bad because Bitcoin has been pumping too. But sometimes it's easy to forget because in my eyes, 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. And then you see the altcoins pump and you're looking at the dollar value increase and you get star-eyed. But if you actually look at the altcoin versus Bitcoin, it gives me a sigh of relief that there's still some opportunities here. Let's take a look at Ethereum Bitcoin once again. So we are seeing this pull back pretty dramatically within the last hour. We've seen a massive wick there. Hopefully this means that we are in for some sort of bounce here. Jonathan says everyone seems to like Dot right now. Thanks so much, Jess. See you tomorrow. I will be back here tomorrow. Tomorrow's live stream will be slightly later than usual, probably be in the afternoon. So make sure to hit like, press subscribe, turn on the bell notification button, and I will see you at some point in the afternoon, probably around 4 p.m. maybe. But I will put a tweet out on the Crypto Saving Expert Twitter whenever I do go live, so make sure to stay tuned there. I think that's all we have for today's stream, so thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I hope you have enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, and goodbye.